special meeting. It is for FY25 budget with District Court. It's May 23rd, 2024. The time is 9:30 a.m. Commissioner Matari and Duncan present. Commissioner Bill Brooks is excused. Are there changes to the agenda? Okay. Hearing
Nope.
none. Oh, do you have one?
No.
Okay. Public comment. Hearing none. All right, we can get right down to business, and that's the FY25 budget review for our District Court. And Carlene Behringer.
Thank you. Carlene Behringer, Trial Court Administrator for the record. Today I have a different kind of request via our budget, but most of the things that we're asking for will be part of the expansion in terms of personnel and then equipment and things of that nature. So I'll start off with the personnel requests first. The bailiff's office needs 2 additional bailiffs to man the expansion of the courthouse and 1 additional screener. The bailiffs will be roving between the new courtrooms, and then the screener will be at the front door. So that is something that is needed. And the onboarding costs for that are a laptop, the dock for the laptop, a desktop computer, monitors, phone, keyboard, headset, things of that nature. Chief Bailiff Barnes would like to hire these individuals in October of 2024, even though the building isn't scheduled to be open to the summer of 2025, because he'd like to start training them so they'll be ready to go in July. In addition to the bailiffs and the security screener, we are also requesting that the county hire a full-time Veterans Court coordinator for our new Veterans Court. The Veterans Court has been approved by the Idaho Supreme Court, and the funding will be for, the Idaho Supreme Court will provide annual state funding for full-time salary, treatment and testing for Veteran Court participants, and also coordination dollars for the coordinator.
Okay, so that, even though it's a county employee, it'd be state funded?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. I already spoke to the other coordinators that are housed up at the probation and parole building, and we did kind of find a quasi-office for this person until they move back down here on this campus. So that's set, and it's a pretty good situation because they'll be right across the hall from the district court manager who will be training that person.
Okay.
Is this the other professional services that's in here, or is that something different?
Other professional services
For
under...
Veterans Court?
That would be drug testing.
Okay.
And things of that nature.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's not on the personnel quest.
It's not.
Okay.
That one is emailed out for everyone to review, and one of the reviews I got was Carlene's have not been added yet. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Good. All right.
And so all the department's personnel requests get put on the personnel summary. They don't exist yet in New World. So like, I know that you're looking at a printout from New World of Carlene's budget.
Mm-hmm.
People's personnel requests aren't in there.
Yeah.
They are outside of the system in our personnel summary.
Can I get New World printouts?
Sure. Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
Any more questions about the positions? Okay. Moving on. Again, as I said, most of the requests that we've made are for the new building. In terms of office supplies, we've asked for quite a few things. We would just need new furniture. Everything that needs to be in an office we would need.
For the veterans?
For the expansion.
Okay, well, that's already taken care of, like the furniture is.
It is taken care of?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's great.
So is it in your budget?
Yes, I put it in my budget because the last time we spoke, there was a lot of items that we were unclear about, so I just had a placeholder in there.
Oh, all right. So we didn't get an answer on those because they're not just desks and chairs. I mean,
Correct.
That's all taken care of.
But I do have a meeting at 11:30 with David Mendez to
Okay.
talk about cabinets and other things.
Okay.
So if that's the case, then I'll just withdraw the amount that I'm asking for.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, find out from him
Okay.
what those different things are, because I remember seeing the list now.
And we have miscellaneous things, doorbells, We have keyboards, we have laptop docking stations, phone boxes, blinds for windows, coffee pots, supplies, easels, decent easels, and entry mats for the screening
Yeah.
stations.
So I would assume easels would be something that you would put in your budget.
Right.
But some of the other stuff, David Mendez would know about that.
Okay. We also included some office supplies, chairs, toner, staplers, headsets for the bailiffs, whiteboards, water dispensers, microwaves, mini fridges, and then our mop, bucket, and wet floor signs for the new building. So that was our breakout list of what we thought we needed to include in
Okay.
the budget.
So wet floor signs and mop bucket, I think that would be janitorial under Greg's department.
Okay.
So I'm not sure that you would need that.
Now, is that all built into your dollar amount of 31,000? Because you have office supplies listed as that, or is that additional stuff you put in?
My office supplies right now, it would be at 1,950.
That's the 31,000
Yeah.
increase over the previous FY24.
Yes,
And that includes the furniture items you're talking about?
correct.
Okay. And do you need copiers and things like that? Is already included? or
I
is
have
a
that
separate
included in
place?
other equipment, I believe. We moved some stuff around.
And then what is item 8120, psychosexual evaluations?
Psychosexual evaluations are court-ordered evaluations for individuals that are deemed to be sex offenders. So before they go to trial or they're sentenced, they get a psychosexual evaluation to see if they are actually a sex offender, or maybe and what level of sex offender they are, or possibly they don't fit into that category and they are not a sex offender. Also, with that, typically they do a lie detector test.
So is that caseload driven, or is that just because of the expansion?
No, that's caseload driven.
Okay, so you're seeing a big increase.
Yeah, and
Wow.
also, we have a situation where there's not many providers anymore that perform those tests. So the cost of finding a provider has gone up, unfortunately.
Okay, interesting.
And, depending on the sex offender, some of the testing that they do is more involved than others. So that can also impact the fee,
Well, you learn something new every day about,
unfortunately.
yeah. Okay, thank you.
In terms of the computer equipment and things like in that nature, they're under 8067 non-capital equipment.
Yep.
And the copier and the scanner and the faxes as well.
So it looks like you have a combination of expanded workload and expanded office space,
Correct.
and that's what's driving all this.
Yes. Yeah. Business is booming, unfortunately, but we've always had a pretty high sex offender rate here, but it has increased.
Just out of curiosity, are you seeing it more from people who relocate here?
I don't know that.
No.
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
That's a good question, though.
I mean, because it seems like, the driver for your business is the growth within the community.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting just to kind of understand, some of those drivers.
Yeah, in 2019, district court was growing by 6% in their caseloads, and population was growing by 3%. So it's not always a,
Well, it depends. Maybe it's the people who are moving here. I mean, we don't know.
right.
So it just means that there is something associated with it.
I also think that the way the police officers approach the cases and the way they charge the cases, and a lot more people are reporting these incidents as before they didn't. And,
Yeah.
the victims were afraid to step forward. But that seems to be changing.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, makes sense.
In terms of other requests that we've asked in the budget, I have, as I do every year, asked for travel money for conferences for staff to be trained. So that's all included in there. It's one training per year. The costs have gone up a little because airline flights have gone up and just travel in general and hotels have gone up.
translation is language barriers?
Interpreters, yes.
Yeah.
And we're seeing a large increase in different languages. We used to be primarily dealing with people that were Mexican or Spanish or deaf and Russian. And now we're getting Mandarin and all sorts of different languages that we didn't really have any, experience with before. We do have a certain amount of funding that comes from the Idaho Supreme Court through their Language Access Department, but it dries up pretty quick, especially when you have to pay for people to come and it's a per diem and mileage and all that jazz.
Yeah. And I take it that that's absolutely essential for your services, because if you don't communicate with people in their native language,
Yes.
that affects the ability to have justice performed.
And, yeah, it's a constitutional right, to have counsel present and,
Yep.
and to be able to communicate with your attorney and be able to communicate with the court. And, the rarer the language, the more expensive it can be.
Yeah. And does it affect the processes with respect to, you have your attorney-client privilege, and then you have the court? Would you require two linguists in this particular situation? So it really
Yes.
is a double expense for a single case.
And you could also have a victim or a witness that's non-English speaking, and you have to have a separate interpreter for them. And then if it's a long trial, you might have to have a few interpreters because it's so taxing on them. So there's a lot of different things that go into it. Sometimes they'll do it by Zoom, but it's preferred to be in person.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's always court-ordered.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. I think that's it for the main budget for the court system. The treatment courts have also requested funding to go to their annual training. They're at their annual training right now in Anaheim. And when we put the budget together, the National Association of Court Management said that our training would be in National Harbor, Maryland, which is near Washington, D.C., probably one of the most expensive places I've ever been to. And we just got word that they switched it to Orlando. So there may be some savings there. They haven't put out the registration information or anything yet, but I think we'll be saving some money with the hotels. And an Uber to go 4 miles is $80.
Wow.
So it's just too much. So I think Orlando would be a better cost-effective conference than the one in National Harbor.
So do they alternate East Coast, West Coast?
It seems like they go to the hottest place in the summer to have these conferences. That's what we think. Like the National Association of Court Management is in July in New Orleans. So I think the conference rates at the hotels are cheaper, so that's why they go there. And then they have the conference room, they're freezing, so they're giving out blankets. But it's never, the winter conference for National Association of Case Management is in, Court Management is in Wyoming? Or
Gosh.
One year they had it in Minneapolis.
Minneapolis? Yeah, it's never.
And the summer one in Tampa.
Never in Orlando in the winter.
No,
Right.
no, that would make too much
Exactly.
sense.
And always, they used to alternate every other year to National Harbor, which is, pretty much a swamp in the summer. So, yeah, they've always done that,
Oh, I can attest that
right?
personally. So, yes.
I've also included, Brandy was kind enough to set up a budget for the Veterans Court Coordinator. So I also am asking for money for them to go to their national training next year, which would probably be the National Association of Treatment Court Professionals. They have now added on a Veterans Court portion. It's been up and running for probably 6-7 years now. So they would go to there.
Okay.
Any other questions?
And I guess just my only one would be, if we could only afford one bailiff, how taxing is that going to be?
Well, we have the 3 new courtrooms, so it would be hard to have one juggle all that. Plus, helping out with all the other courtrooms that are here as well, and out in the jail courtroom, and then over in the Juvenile Justice Center. So it would be really difficult to do that. And I'm thinking that, those 3 courtrooms are going to see a lot of felony work because of the jury boxes and things like that. So they would definitely need to be in there.
Okay.
What's typically your ratio between bailiffs and courtrooms?
Oh, boy, it's hard. Sometimes a judge doesn't have a bailiff. We kind of look at the whole schedule and see what types of cases are presenting most problems. And then, if it's a high-profile murder case or something like that, typically there's 2 or 3, but then they're pulling from another courtroom. So typically, civil matters don't have bailiffs if there's a lot of criminal matters happening that day. So it just depends upon the day and what type of case it is, and if there's been any trouble with litigants in the past. Our bailiffs also act as the jury commissioners. So they're also preparing all the jury paperwork that goes out to say that you have to show up for jury duty. They handle all that as well.
Okay.
So anything else notable?
The only thing other notable, I just wanted to, and I know that you already know this, but I just wanted to mention that I did not decrease the funding for any defense attorneys at this point because I'm just waiting to have a little bit more clarification with the statewide public defender.
Right. So your budget could go down quite a bit depending on the answers to a
It
lot of
could,
these questions.
but I'd like to just ride this out a little bit to see if everything's going to go the way it should go.
Yeah.
When do you think you'll know?
Well, the job description was completed, and it was sent back to the state public defender, Eric Frederickson. So we're waiting for a response from him to see if there's anything else he needs to do. And then we will meet as a group. This state has decided that the local magistrate commissions will be the hiring committee for the public defender, the regional public defender. So once we have the job description with a salary range, that's what we were waiting for, then we can move forward. The
advertise.
money will be available July 1st.
Yeah. So do you see this process taking place before or after July 1st?
Well, I mean, we could certainly interview somebody, but they're not going to be able to start till July 1st.
Right.
But
Right. I've heard 2 different things, that we can't start until after July 1st to actually look for the person, but all along it was supposed to be February, March, and now we're into May, and so it'll be June
Right.
before we even interview this person, so.
And we're responsible to post the position and come up with the list of interview questions. And then, I guess, find housing for this person, depending upon which county they wind up in the district.
Yeah.
And I think that commitment was 5 years from each county. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be interesting to watch this unfold.
Okay. Anything else?
No,
Brandy?
no, it's,
I was just gonna say, every year, Carlene, as well as myself and my staff, look at her revenues pretty closely. So we've gone through and made the appropriate increases in all of her specialty courts for the quarterly payments we get from the state. So we make sure that we are accurately increasing those every year. We also have about a $300,000 increase in projected revenues for district court fines, because those have been growing quite a bit. So that's good. I just wanted to let you know that we do look at all her revenues really closely. And then we also have done a projection for liquor revenues, which get allocated between Carlene's budget and the court clerk's budget based on their percentage of a budget. So we've taken a look at that as well.
So with the additional asks, with the 3 bodies and all the other things, where are we sitting revenue versus
So
expense?
the biggest increase would be in the ops budget. We're increasing district court fines by $303,000 is the increase we're projecting. And the loaded cost of her for personnel requests is $318,000.
Except part of that is the
Part of
state.
it comes from the state.
Yeah, for
Okay,
one of
so I
those
won't
bodies.
include the Veterans Court Coordinator.
Yeah.
So the 2 bailiffs and the security screener are $218,000.
Okay,
So
we're
the
good
projected
shape.
increase, in the fines is doing a pretty good job to help cover,
Additional asks.
her requested personnel stuff. And then kind of on the public defender, I asked Seth Griggs specifically about, Seth is the director of IAC, about the janitorial costs for the public defenders building while I was at the IAC conference a week or so ago. And he said that IAC worked very diligently with the state to make sure that counties were not responsible for those types of things. So he said that we should not budget for that expense. And he said if we get any pushback from the public defender at the state level to let him know, and he'll kind of advocate on our behalf.
Yeah.
In the courts in general, the state has kind of been pushing back on us. At least in the clerks, the state has sent back some invoices saying they're not going to pay them. And we essentially handed it to Seth, and he is lobbying on our behalf because he said the state is trying to push more back on the county, which isn't acceptable. So I've kind of been going to him when things like that pop up to get him to have those discussions with the state. So
Okay, if you can just let me know when you're having those discussions, because I'm submitting the email to the state public defender today about asking for the rent, asking for the janitorial, and letting them know the whole list of office equipment that the county owns versus the state versus, the
So
grant
the only
funding.
thing I've talked with him about the public defender was that janitorial. Everything else has kind of been matters relating to the clerk's activities in
Sure.
district court. So yes, I'm letting you know the janitorial, he said that we shouldn't budget that. We should push that back to the state.
Yeah, I'm getting the invoices to send to
Perfect.
the state
Okay.
public defender today, so,
Okay.
yep. Okay,
I was thinking about setting up a meeting during our next magistrate commission selection with the folks that are on the hiring committee for the public defender, because the two new attorneys, they've never been through the magistrate commission process, and it's just going to look a little different without the judges.
right, okay.
So,
Yeah, just let me know, I'll be there.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, I'll call for public comment. Anybody on the line? Nothing. Okay. 9:52, meeting adjourned. Thank you, Carlene.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.